An ancient antenna found at the bottom of Antarctica Sea, Eltanin antenna. Movements in the Earth's crust meant that large parts of Antarctica were ice-free 12,000 years ago, and people could have lived there. Allegedly, a society could have existed before coming to an end with the last ice age, which froze over the continent, and this could have been Atlantis. And hail from ancient mysteries. Year after year, researchers in Antarctica discover inexplicable riddles that astound Orthodox historians and archaeologists, from the rumored 3 pyramids that resemble the Giza pyramids to the hundreds of weird objects spotted by satellite pictures. Antarctica remains the world's least visited region. That's hardly surprising, given that it's the most isolated location from any human civilization and is buried under at least 3 miles of ice, or about 5 kilometers of ice. It's the coldest, tallest, windiest, and driest spot on the Earth, making archaeological excavation investigation particularly difficult without investing millions of dollars. It's no surprise that we know so little about Antarctica. Antarctica, a tropical paradise. The little that we do know about it, on the other hand, it's as perplexing as ever. According to fossil records, Antarctica was a tropical paradise millions of years ago, covered with tropical rainforests, woods, lakes, plants, and all kinds of species. This has led many people to conclude that at some point in the distant past, Antarctica was home to Earth's oldest civilization, and that all of the bizarre findings made there are only reminiscent of its existence. Of course, scientists cannot excavate 3 miles of ice and thoroughly investigate it, but does that imply no one knows what's beneath the ice? Apparently not. Antarctica and the Piri-Reis map. In late 1929, a German theologian working in Istanbul, Turkey, discovered a gazelle skin parchment with a map sketched on it. The map was made and signed in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Ahmed Muhyiddin Piri, afterward known as Piri-Reis. The map's depiction of North and South America in great detail was somewhat surprising. Despite the fact that America had been discovered 21 years prior, it was not plotted with such clarity until much later. As a result, Piri-Reis's map is the earliest detailed map of the Americas still in existence. The map even indicates the Andes Mountains, which Francisco Pizarro discovered 14 years later. The fact that the Piri-Reis map indicated the continent of Antarctica, and not only that, but also portrayed it before it was buried in ice, astounds experts. No one could explain how this was possible, given that mainland Antarctica was founded in 1820 and was already covered with ice. Apparently, Piri-Reis did not create the map entirely by himself. Instead, he utilized the huge library of Constantinople, today's Istanbul, which was now in Ottoman hands. There, he discovered several antique maps from ancient civilizations as the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Indians, as well as 6 more sources that Piri-Reis did not wish to reveal. It's unclear where these civilizations got their knowledge of Antarctica's topography when it was not covered in ice, and who the 6 other sources are. Many individuals assume that these civilizations learned this from far older origins, sources left by what they may have been the Earth's earliest civilizations. A civilization that lived in Antarctica when there was no ice and the continent was warm and alive with life and vegetation. Even if we suppose that navigators went along America's, Africa's, and Antarctica's coasts to record them, the Piri-Reis map only shows coastline characteristics. Nonetheless, the map depicts mountains, rivers, and deep terrain features that would be impossible to discover without extensive investigation. It wasn't until 2004 and 2007 that a thorough sonar radar study of Antarctica was conducted, scanning the topographical characteristics of the area beneath the ice sheet. Surprisingly, all of these things beneath the ice were portrayed on the Piri-Reis map. Many individuals believe that the map proves that an old, intelligent society existed millions of years ago, and portrayed Antarctica, or that alien contact provided the ancients with this information. Whatever the case, we may never know what lurks beneath Antarctica's 3 miles of ice, but perhaps we don't need to explore beneath the ice. What if we instead look at the seafloor near the coast? What can we discover there? The Eltanin antenna. The USNS Eltanin, a technologically advanced oceanographic research vessel, was built by the National Science Foundation of the United States in 1962. It was the world's first geophysical ship, and it was entrusted with investigating Antarctica and its surrounding waters. Over the next 2 years, the ship brought a wealth of previously unknown data and shed much light on our understanding of the region. There were, however, a few mysteries discovered at the ocean's depth. On August 29, 1964, the USNS Eltanin was photographing the ocean floor west of Cape Horn at a depth of nearly 3 miles when one of the greatest mysteries of Antarctica was discovered. What they discovered astounded them. They were able to photograph a strange structure standing in the middle of nowhere along the preliminary bare bottom of the sea. And this is a picture of it. Okay? Now, the structure, this is the Eltanin antenna, ancient antenna found at the bottom of Antarctica Sea. The structure was 2 feet tall, symmetrical, and had nodules, spokes, and protrusions that ended in the spherical node. It looked like an antenna or some type of signal transmitter. Scientists and researchers were stunned when the photographs were first published in New Zealand Herald, December 5, 1964, in an article titled Puzzle Picture from Seabed. The article read, "The American research ship Eltanin sailed to Auckland yesterday with a mysterious photo taken at 2250 fathoms, 1,000 miles west of Cape Horn. The photograph, which to a layman shows something like a complex radio aerial jutting out of the mud bottom, was taken on August 29 by a submarine camera. For years, the ambiguous object was eagerly discussed and debated, giving rise to the mystery of the so-called Eltanin antenna." Now, what is the Eltanin antenna? Many people thought it was an out-of-place item from an ancient civilization that previously inhabited the ice-free continent of Antarctica. They think this civilization left countless artifacts and structures, remnants beneath the 3 kilometers of ice that currently covers the continent. Because the seabed near Antarctica is the only bottom that is not covered by ice, we can uncover evidence of their presence there. Others went even farther, believing the enigmatic item was some kind of alien technology purposefully put in such a distant and lonely spot to transmit signals for extraterrestrial contact and maybe planet mapping. In 1968, author Brad Steger stated in an article for Saga magazine that the Eltanin had photographed an astonishing piece of machinery, much like the cross between the TV antenna and a telemetry antenna. Is Eltanin antenna a sea sponge? Of course, experts were eager to deny the discovery, dismissing it as an undersea sponge. They stated that the image depicted is of the Cladorhiza concresca, a marine sponge from the Cladorhizia family. This idea has a number of flaws. The so-called antenna, for example, is extremely geometrical and has definite angles and forms which cannot be stated of the sea sponge to which it is likened. Another issue with this concept is that the Cladorhizia concressa lives in colonies and produces rapidly. These marine species reproduce asexually, with a little portion of the sponge breaking off and reattaching to the bottom, creating almost similar organisms and ultimately complete colony. No similar thing was discovered on the seafloor because the object stood alone. The third issue is that the image from Eltanin was obtained at a depth of exactly 2.5 miles, that's 4 kilometers deep. At that depth, no sunlight can reach the seafloor, making the presence of marine sponges or plants extremely unlikely. Dr. Thomas Hopkins, a renowned marine biologist specializing in plankton investigations, likewise dismisses the sponge explanation. In his words, "Our science does not yet possess underwater vehicles capable of descending to such depths. Therefore, no one on Earth that we are aware of could have placed the evidence off Cape Horn. Interestingly, we can locate an old petroglyph from 6000 BC in Utah's Sego Canyon, which represents something quite similar to the Eltanin antenna. Is this to say that the antenna has been on Earth for over 8,000 years? However, the antenna is not the only item shown in the Sego Canyon petroglyphs. There we can observe these odd entities that are plainly not human. They are much taller than the humans and animals around them and have quite weird and unusual heads. Are these creatures in charge of the Eltanin antenna? Is it possible that the alien culture is watching us and deploying various instruments to measure our planet? And if they do, what other devices are out there studying and surveying us? And this is on Collective Spark by Inhale Ancient Mysteries. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.